Check the mic and make sure it sound right.
We are back, and we are doing this thing, and we're taking people, oh my gosh, through a real journey here. I mean, if nothing else, long overdue stuff. And I want to get right into it, my brother. So, you know, at our last talk, we talked a little bit about how, you know, I was asking you about the people from the entertainment group, artisans entertainment group, being part of this, and you
Right.
told me about how they're kind of behind the scenes guys and they don't really like the forefront. And honestly, we can't be mad at that because
Oh no, I'm mad at it. I'm mad at it because they have some they have some really heartbreaking, heartwarming lessons that we can all learn from. See, because I know them and I've heard these things that's helped mold who I am in the security of being able to service other people, to being able to serve everybody. It's actually been a great way for me to gain and keep humility, you know, because they've done so much. I mean, if you think that what I've done is something, man, just if you look at the pages of stuff that they have, dude, I marvel at the fact that they've done and do all that they do, and they are allowing me to be a part of their circle.
well, you know, it's bringing people together, and honestly, that's what this series of discussions is really about. You know, it's just us having conversations about the industry and getting people enlightened. You know, but the reason I said, you know, sometimes you can't really get mad at it because I understand, because I've been there where, and I can tell you it's a little bit of a blessing and a curse at the same time. Because when I wanted to get into production and recording engineer and all that stuff, which I had my degree, you know, in it, I wanted to be behind the scenes, you know. You remember when we used to do events, and you're like, you know, grab the mic, and I'm good here. This space here, that's all me. I'm good. But here's the blessing and the curse in that. Well, the blessing is obviously, you know, we got to provide music and we get people. We had parties that you and I were walking through, I think, Gurney Mills Mall, and we did a mitzvah for someone, and they were talking. They came up to us, and what are the odds that we were both in the mall at the same time hanging out? They saw us, recognized us, came up to us. The child was now something like 18 years old or something like that, and said, people are still talking about that event. You know, for anybody that doesn't understand why we do what we do, sometimes it's right there in that moment. When someone comes up years later after an event and saying, oh my gosh, people are still talking about. Now, for anybody that don't know what a mitzvah is celebrating at 13 years old. Now, here it is five years later, and people are still talking about this event like it just happened last week, you know? But here's where's that flip now, because when it comes to being in the music industry, sometimes a lot of people don't recognize the true powerhouse that you can be in the industry, because, you know, they only see you as behind the scenes, or because you're behind the scenes, they don't see you at all. So they really don't know the power of what it is you're doing and how much of a role it plays to an event happening. You know, the behind the scenes stuff, the chemistry. Let's face it, if you and I didn't have a chemistry when we were working together, the party wasn't going to turn out as great as, you know, where people are still talking about. Because if there's tension between us, people are going to pick up on that. And it's going to affect their end result. So there's so much that happens with chemistry and all that stuff. And that's why, you know, yes, I know you said it's like pulling teeth for these guys to come on. But yeah, you know, hopefully they feel at home here because they're not going to be put in a tough position. All we want for them to do is talk about what they love. You know, again, we go back to that fulfillment triangle, right? When you have a passion for something, you have a talent for it, and there's an opportunity to make money. You know, but we want people who don't know all the various areas within the music industry that you can divide off into. You know, we talk about DJing, right? How many you, and the reason we talked about your entertainment, how many different areas do you have that are literally outlets to produce income, all intertwined together?
Yeah, somewhere in the element of about 8 or 10.
Okay, then, you know, I mean, and there's so much more available to you. Creating beats, creating jingle. I mean, for the DJs out there, okay? DJs just think about DJing at a party, spinning at a party, doing weddings, whatever, you know, all that stuff, and that's great. But do you recognize now that a lot of commercials are actually using beats that DJs remixed for their jingles, and they're getting a check every month when that jingle happens, you know?
Right, but let's keep this in mind. There are people that create, and then there are people that just consume. Yep. And even the people that create, they're not set aside because they're creative. They're just set aside because they're different than everybody else. See, there are fewer creators than there are consumers. Now, they're born every day, they grow, you know, and there are others that are created. But when you talk about DJs that just play music and they don't think outside the box in other ways to make income or in other ways to entertain people, that's not their fault. If that's their love, that's their love. If they don't see what you see, they just don't see what you see. But what I can say about all of that is this. This pandemic in particular, and I thank God for all that he's done in my life. But my testimony, part of one of my testimonies is I actually suffered from COVID, and it was really, really bad.
Wow.
And I'm grateful that he brought me through it. But before that happened, I was out of work, meaning I wasn't DJing anywhere. I wasn't singing anywhere. I wasn't performing anything anywhere. That time and now has made me a better businessman, a better entertainer, a better performer, a better DJ, it's made me better in so many different ways. And when it comes to production, my production has grown immensely in the sense that I was able to take a setup that, let's just say for numbers' sake, could take me 2 hours. You'd get a great sound. It's now condensed down to an hour, 45 minutes. The same setup, but the components are different now. The components are different now. You still get the same sound, but you start doing pre. If you do pre, that means you set it up in advance, so you have fewer things to set up as opposed to, let's just say for numbers' sake again, there's 17 things to set up. Put this here, put that there, run a cable from here to there, put this on top of this, put this on top of this, okay. Then you open up the back of it and you go from this cable down, this cable down, this cable down. If you put all that together, now you got 2 cables coming out and you run it over.
Exactly.
This is what that's done for me. It's made me it's made me a lot more patient to understand the inner workings of what we need to do. So that way, you can actually show business, which is what it's really called. You're showing business. Those who catch it, I wasn't catching it before. In my years of doing this, now I'm catching the show business part of it, as opposed to just thinking, well, someone taught me, you take this, put it into a speaker, and then you take this, and you put it into an amp, and now it works. Now there's other things that have been created. There's other things that are being created. You know, there are things that we're working on, that we're creating, that takes us to a different level in many different ways, from setups to the way we perform to how long we can perform, you know. Singing as much as I had been, I used to do a show I used to do a karaoke show for like 8, 9 years. So I got into an argument with somebody, and they told me that that I'm not a singer, and the argument was, well, how do you say that I'm not a singer, but I've been doing this show that requires me to sing for the past 8 years. At a karaoke show, if nobody shows up, they never told me I have to sing, but I felt bad if I didn't. So I'm singing for the past 8 years. I'm learning different songs. I'm pulling songs from my childhood, and now I'm incorporating that. I'm incorporating dancing with that. To do a spin, get back to the microphone, and hit another note. It gave me a chance to really work hard at what I was doing. And then there were times when I felt like God was telling me, you know what, tonight, just play 70s music. Don't play anything else. And that gave me an outlet to really, really dig deep and understand, wait a minute. I played some Gap Band. I played some Rick James in the barrage of everything else I was playing. But wait a minute. If I just stay with 70s music, what do I play? Do I play funk? Do I play jazz? Do I play hip hop? Do I play R&B? Do I play soul? Do I play pop? Do I play country? But it all boiled down to I got bored with playing a bunch of everything, and then I felt like he was telling me, "I just play 70s music tonight, and then tomorrow night, give me some 50s." But now, here's the challenge. Not only is it just to play 70s music, but have that same energy in that 70s music that you would if it was something you really wanted to hear, because you're playing for other people. That's the mistake we make as DJs. We play for ourselves. Yep. And any DJ that plays for himself, you got paid by a client to be there. Yep. Why would you play for yourself? Yeah, and that was part of my argument.
I don't consider anybody like that an actual DJ. You know what I mean?
No, they are.
Well, here's the thing. So there's this question that I used to ask DJs before, right? And you and I had a conversation about this offline, not in this show, but the conversation goes like this. So you're DJing, and so I'll ask the question, what's your favorite genre of music? What's your favorite type of music? And they would say, now, when you talk about how you're a perfectionist when it comes to, people got to come a certain way. So again, 40 plus years of doing this is how I view people if they come to me and say they want to DJ. And I'd say, let's say they say hip hop, or I love Jay-Z, or I love Drake, or whatever, right? And I'd be like, okay, so now somebody comes up and they are, and they say, okay, let me get some Garth Brooks, Now right away, because you like Drake and because you like Drake and you like, Jay-Z, your body, your demeanor, your response to, oh man, you're gonna ask me for Garth Brooks? Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll play it. Yes, you play the request, but that person is looking over at you, and they're seeing your whole body language being, I can't wait for this song to be over and done with, right? And then a person in the same group of party comes up and say, hey man, you got some Drake? Oh man, I got you, man. Drake, yeah. And you're anxious to play it, and while the song is going, they're looking over at you, and you're like, and you just like, you're getting down. You literally just alienated the person who came and asked for Garth Brooks. Now, you and I did a wedding up in Wisconsin for a really dear friend of ours, and that was pretty much all country, right? And what was our energy like? What was our demeanor like when people was making sound? And worse, Most importantly was when you grabbed the mic and you started singing one of the songs.
Hmm.
It was a line dance song. You got in the middle of the crowd and you were singing. Everybody's like, wait, what? A brother know all the words to this song? I think it was Red Solo Cup. I remember. Yeah. You see, those things, they never leave you, you know? But here
Yeah.
you were singing Red Solo Cup. And people could draw closer to you because you weren't alienating the music that they like.
Hmm.
You were embracing it, and you, as a result of that, you were embracing them. So, you know, when we talk about accountability, when it comes to, you know, like when you talk about when you were in the group, there's accountability when you're a DJ. And
Right.
so as accountability, we can't say it's okay to play the music that you like.
Right, boy.
Maybe in some arenas you can say that. My personal opinion, and it's my opinion, folks, so don't jump all over me in the comments and all that stuff. But my opinion is, if you're playing for the guests, you're playing for the crowd. Most DJs will agree with me on that, you know, when it comes down to it. But that's where I say, when you have a favorite type of music that you listen to, you're going to alienate a certain part of your crowd. And it happens on the high end too.
Well, I think I agree with you, but I believe that that's where the discipline comes in at. You know, you have to have discipline and really make it about the people that you're entertaining. Whether you're singing, whether you're DJing, whether you're a band member, it doesn't matter. You know, you have to make this about them. The people who are most successful in any form of the industry, they made it about people. You know, actors that are great actors, how do they make it about people? Because they made it believable that they've embodied whoever it is that they're portraying.
Yeah.
When it comes to musicians, whether they add some things to the song that you've never heard and it sounded amazing, or whether they just played it note for note right in the groove, you can see. You know, there are people who are like, I've known bassists and they're like, doom, 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 zoom, zoom, and you can see that they're into it. That's different than
Yep.
and they're just getting through it.
That's what that's what people see, and that's what people feed off of.
But that's what happens a majority of the time. So that's what makes Michael Jackson, Prince, anybody of that caliber. That's what makes them different.
Let's not
you know?
forget JT.
Absolutely, Mr. Timberlake. You are so right. But that's what makes them different. That's what, because they saw what to do, and they embellished upon it. They saw what to do, and they made it. They took it above and beyond what they had to do, and they made it something that was extraordinary. And they continue to do that. That's why Beyonce and Pitbull. That's why any of the heavy hitters. That's why they're heavy hitters. But I guarantee you that all of those people watched somebody else in an interview, watched somebody else in concert, watched somebody else do some things that they like that inspired them to do what? Exactly what they're doing now.
So we talked a little bit, and you kind of breezed over it real fast, that, you know, you did the karaoke thing for like about 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
How did you address stuff like royalty stuff? Did anybody ever ask you about royalty, or anybody ever approach you that? How did that ever come up? You're performing all these different places and people are asking you, you know, or have you ever gotten approached by anybody regarding royalties?
Yes, it happened once. There was a place I had residency at, and there were people getting sued, literally, because they were using someone's music. And the reason why they were getting sued is because they were using a couple of different brands of karaoke that they didn't actually purchase, or they didn't have record of them purchasing it. So when they used that song in a show, they filmed it. You know, oh my goodness, this is my boy throwing down. But they were actually filming that the song was being used, and they went back and said, okay, we're suing you because you used our stuff, you didn't pay for it, you didn't ask, there you go. But that's a different horse in a different race. What you're talking about is, if I play Earth, Wind and Fire, their actual song, if I play Pitbull's actual song, if I'm mixing DJing, and I do a 20-minute mix, I can go through a ton of songs in 20 minutes. So you're asking about that. That all falls under the hotel that I was doing it at. The hotel had a bar, but the hotel owned the bar, and they have different licensing that they pay for.
Yep.
When they played a game on television, on any of the screens, every screen that was televising that had to have a box connected to it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So the box that was connected to it literally had to have a certain amount of money go toward that, for that box. And if there were 6 boxes in there, each box had to be paid for as it was televised. When it came to music, the licensing was somewhat the same, but they were paying for it annually so that they could have performers, whether it was a DJ, whether it was a duet, people singing something, whether it was any entertainment that came in that used other people's original music. It was all under that umbrella.
Okay. Yeah, and in one of the videos I did, I took people through the ASCAP website, where we talked about all the different licenses, business, sure. Even radio was on there, radio and then television. And, so all these groups of people got to purchase license for their entities, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it was speaking really to online events, because, you have a lot of DJs DJing now. And they talked about a synchronization license, and that's only regarding when the music gets silenced. You know, like when you're playing on Instagram or Facebook, and sure. And they silence it. They silence the certain songs, and then they send you an email saying, hey, your music was silenced because it violated, and they use the harsh words they use of violation and all that stuff. But what that basically means, synchronization license now is different from ASCAP or BMI, where you actually you have to get permission from that particular artist of that particular song, right? To play their music. So there's limitations on certain songs that you can actually play. And I think sometimes people confuse that with all that stuff. And, when it comes to making money from it as well, are you re-recording the music and then promoting it? You're going to get silenced and you're going to open up yourself to some lawsuits. But actually playing the music, like I told people, if you're playing it from an embeddable source, whether it's Spotify or whatever, you're good, because you're paying for a membership.
Okay, that may be true, but here's the problem. Mm-hmm. Your 20 years of experience is not respected as a lawyer, as someone who's done or does legal work, mm-hmm. and or an authority directly affiliated with ASCAP, BMI, any of those legality places that can say, here's what you need to do. Mm-hmm. And that's what the real problem is. You're giving information because you want to keep us informed. You want to help us move forward. But harshly put, because you're not looked at as a lawyer mm-hmm. that deals with legal matters. That's what the problem is.
There you go. Well, there you go. There's our little shout out right there. If there's anybody that's an attorney within the music industry, hit us up. We'd love to ask you questions, and we'd love to get it straight from your mouths, about particular
like, add, follow.
Yep, like and follow. And again, if you know somebody, tell them. You know somebody that's in the music industry and that level in the legal department, have them talk to us. ASCAP, BMI, any one of those organizations. Anybody knows anybody there, have them come on our episode. We'd love to have them and we'd love to clear up any misconceptions. So that way, it's not my 40 plus years of music, talking about.
As a matter of fact, what we need to do is have an entertainment lawyer on.
There you go. There you go.
That's
so
what we need.
Putting the feelers out. Somebody hit us up in the comment section. Direct DM us. All that stuff. We want to hear from you. So on that note, Rick, my man, this is gonna continue. We're gonna have more guests on, and as always, thank you for going on this journey with me, because we are gonna take it to a whole other level, man.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me,
man. So much love. We'll talk to you again in the next episode, because you're my co-host on this now. All right, so every time it'll be 3 screens next time, 4 screens. How many other people we're gonna have on this discussion with us? We're gonna give them the platform, and we're gonna keep talking about this stuff. Take care, everybody.
It sound right, boy.